Hi, this is Nigel from Centium and continuing our courses on superannuation. So today's module is about costs and fees. So we've been going through, so what is a super fund? What does it mean for you? Why it's so important? How you get money in there? Your super guarantee? What do the investments look like? And we're building up that knowledge base. So really importantly today we're talking about costs. We've talked about the types of investments. We've talked about the structure. And now we're going to talk about your costs. So most people, if you're in an industry super fund or retail super fund or self-managed super fund, they've all actually got the same sort of layers of costs. It just depends on how, I suppose, how transparent it is and how it's broken down. But so let's break it down really simply for you. And effectively what you've got to start with is you've got, as we've explained, you've got a trustee. Now, that trustee is normally, if you're in a big sort of retail or industry fund, a big board, and they charge a fee. So they might charge a percentage of your assets, and it might be something like, 0.2% if you looked at the costs. There's also the administration. So the administration is all the reporting and the systems and things like that. So whether you're in an industry fund or a retail fund or your own fund, there is a cost to that. In a self-managed super fund, it's more your accounting and admin sort of cost. You might have a reporting system. In an industry super fund, obviously they've got to provide some sort of system and reporting and all the tax reports. And that can cost anywhere from 0.5 to 1%, depending on the structure you're in. It just depends on the balance you've got and things like that. Then you've got a investment cost. So the underlying investments are going to charge money. They don't do it for free, unfortunately, and they're the managed funds or the exchange traded funds. And again, international shares, global shares, small companies, property funds, they've all got different ranges of costs. Some start from very, very low, almost zero these days, but some go out so you can almost 0.05% out to 2.5%. And that's where you can really, these sort of costs here, the trustee and administration costs these days are fairly normal around the industry, but this is where you can make a big difference. We see a lot of people who think they're in a cheap fund. They've chosen an industry fund, for example, but their investment manager they've selected is actually 2.5%. That's not cheap. If they're outperforming, maybe it's worth it, but tend to see that doesn't really happen. So just be careful about those costs. And they can be pretty hard to find in the product disclosure statement that you see. Pretty hard to work all that out sometimes. So they're your main costs. And so every super fund, whether industries, retail, self-managed super fund have the same. You might also be paying for some advice. And you might also be paying for some accounting fees. That's subject to what you've got. If you've got a self-managed super fund, accounting, or you're getting some advice around that, and you can again, there are other costs that you might be paying on top. So that's how it works. Pretty basic, really. Unfortunately, the industry doesn't do a good job of explaining this. They all should just have exactly the same table, explain that really clearly so you can understand where the difference is and what you're paying for, and is that the thing you want to pay for. For example, in the investment space, if you're paying 0.2 and 0.5, you think, oh, that's about normal, but I'm paying 2.5% investments. Hey, I could get the same international share fund that charges 5 basis points or 0.05 versus 2.5%, well, that's going to save me a lot of money. So that's something that you can make a decision around, and that's something we can help you with. All right, hope that helps. Thanks for listening in. There are some other costs, of course, around, but these are the core ones. There are some little things that are costs within the fund that might come through, or buy-sell spreads and things like that. They tend to be fairly minimal, really, in the scheme of things. These are the key things that make the biggest difference. Thanks for listening.